There's not so much to do now. So this week I briefly relocated the stuff, the leading edge of the project to my girlfriend's shed. The main boat building part is to fix the hatches. So these hatches I'm pretty much going to rebuild completely, just replace. And this one I'm going to repair. First thing is to get the curves. It's the plan said to trace the curve, and then you nail blocks of wood, a long piece of wood, but it said the same curve as the bulkheads, but there's actually several different bulkheads with different radiuses, so I decided just to trace the curve that's on the largest hatch. I checked the hatch edges next to each other and they were all the same. I also picked up a nice piece of recycled kauri and then ripped it into stringers. Jig with 4 blocks, but it made hard points at the edge of, after quite a big space, and then the pieces broke there. So I've just used a really thin piece to find the line and put some extra blocks in for support, and hopefully now the thicker pieces will be able to take this curve. This is a successful dry run for the largest lamination. I found having extra blocks helped a lot. See how it sprung back? That wasn't really meant to happen. Let's see how well it fits the curve. I don't think that's going to cut it, but we can use these pieces here. So not all is lost. I was just going to use this, but I realized it's delaminated. Guess this one didn't get quite enough glue. You can see when it's not penetrated fully like that, so always use plenty of glue. The other one's holding fine and I clamped it on. I'm not going to glue it though because it doesn't have the other side. Lining up one of the smaller 4 hatches. I've made myself a small level bench. The corners.
I'm actually only here for the outfit. Like, I don't really care about what building.
Get it to stir like slowly at first so it doesn't go everywhere. Now the second attempt at laminating curves, and it's not quite the same by about 5 mils. When I unclamped it, it sprang back a little bit. I also noticed something when comparing it to the smaller hatches. That looks good. that's bad. So the curve in the middle is fine, but it's too straight at the ends. That means I can still use these pieces, just cutting the ends off. Plywood I cut to the top, because the first piece here I had the grain going the direction of the curve, and I thought, and I could see that it had a small dip in the center, and I thought, well, obviously if I have the grain going easier to curve way, so across the grain, so the grain is perpendicular to the curve, then it would be flatter. And I was like, well, I actually have enough plywood, so I'll cut it out again. And the dip is actually a lot worse. Before it was about 5 mil, now it's like, now we're talking like 15. And it's quite obvious just looking at it. But then I realized just when I was talking now that this plywood has a very thin veneer, so the stiff direction is actually perpendicular to the grain, because this is just quite a thin veneer. Definitely came out a lot better using the notched spreader. Yeah, this was actually excellent. Yep. 4 strips didn't work, 5 strips worked. I'm making a jig to hold the large hatch while it glues, to get everything lined up. I've clamped it like this, then screwed it. There's a spacer here on the outside because the batten, the outside batten is going to be clamped to the jig, so it ends up in exactly the right place. The funny thing here is it's way easier to bend the plywood in this direction. There's a thin veneer here, a thick one, a thick one, a thick one, and a thin one. Now the thick ones go that way. The thin one's just decorative, really, doesn't really do that much. The ones inside have most of the stiffness. I'm used to plywood that has the main bits go the long way. I could do it by cutting the sheet and scarfing it to make a plywood that's longer this way. In fact, I think that's what I might do, because it's way harder to bend the other way. I've cut the the whole sheet of plywood into two pieces, and I've decided that I'm going to scarf it. I've laid it out so the bad side will be on top, because you'll look at the underside more, and the top side's going to definitely be painted anyway. All the stringers are now fitted to the jig. The new hatch top is now glued. To be honest, this didn't really go well, and I think for the amount of boat you get, this was a hell of a lot of work. This took a whole week, and it's not even finished yet. Yesterday I glued on the coaming for the hatch. Just arrived back after building the hatches. I've been away for 3 weeks, which is longer than I had planned. Do the hatches that I just spent 3 weeks building actually fit? There's 2 full hatches and they should be the same. Yeah, perfect. Fits quite nicely. Yes! A little blood there. Looks like it fits. It fits.